Daniel Carter looked out the window of the Earthship UE's horizon as it moved through space toward the massive station ahead. The station was bigger than any city he had ever seen. It looked like a metal flower with thousands of lights shining from its many arms. This was Nexus Prime, the home of the Galactic Council that ruled over most of the galaxy. Carter was 52 years old and had spent most of his life talking to world leaders and solving problems between countries. His gray hair was neat and his blue suit was perfect. He carried a small bag that held the most important papers in human history. These papers would decide if Earth could join the galactic community or if humans would remain alone among them. Stars. The ship captain, a woman named Susan Wright, walked up to Carter. She had been flying ships for 20 years and knew space better than anyone. "We will dock in 10 minutes, Ambassador," she said. "Are you ready for this?" Carter nodded and looked at his papers one more time. He had trade agreements that would help both Earth and alien worlds make money together. He had plans for sharing human art, music, and stories with other species. He had ideas for working together to protect everyone from dangers in space. Most importantly, he had proof that humans had changed from their violent past and were ready to be good neighbors in the galaxy. "I have to be ready," Carter said to Captain Wright. "This is what humanity has been working toward since we first looked up at the stars." The U's horizon was not a warship. It was built for exploration and making friends with new civilizations. The ship had libraries full of human knowledge, art galleries showing the best paintings and sculptures from Earth, and rooms where aliens could learn about human culture. Carter hoped this would show the Galactic Council that humans were not dangerous, but were creative and peaceful people. As the ship got closer to Nexus Prime, Carter could see other alien ships around the station. Some looked like giant crystals, floating through space. Others were long and thin like metal snakes. A few looked like they were made of living metal that moved and changed shape. Carter had studied pictures of these ships, but seeing them in person made his heart beat faster. Docking process took an hour. Alien workers that looked like walking trees with many arms helped connect the Earthship to the station. Carter watched through the window as these creatures worked. They moved in perfect coordination without talking to each other. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. Captain Wright walked Carter to the airlock door. "Good luck, Ambassador," she said. "Remember that all of Earth is counting on you." "I will not let them down," Carter replied. He stepped through the door into an alien world. The first thing Carter noticed was the air. It smelled like flowers mixed with metal and something he could not identify. The gravity was lighter than Earth's, making him feel like he might float away. The walls of the station were made of a material that seemed to glow with its own light. Strange symbols were carved into the walls, probably writing in alien languages. A creature was waiting for Carter in the hallway. It was as tall as a human, but looked like it was made of blue crystal. Light moved through its body like electricity through wires. When it spoke, its voice sounded like wind chimes. "Ambassador Carter of Earth," the crystal being said. "I am. Guide Zefka. I will take you to the council chamber." Carter followed Zefka through corridors filled with aliens he had never imagined. There were beings that looked like giant insects walking on 2 legs. Others looked like floating jellyfish, made of light. Some aliens were so strange that Carter could not figure out which end was their head. All of these creatures stopped what they were doing to stare at Carter as he walked by. He could feel their eyes on him and wondered what they thought of the first human they had ever seen. Were they curious? Afraid? Angry? Carter tried to walk with confidence even though his legs felt weak. The council chamber was enormous. The ceiling was so high that Carter could barely see it. 12 huge chairs were arranged in a circle, each one designed for a different type of alien body. In the center of the circle was a small platform where Carter would have to stand and speak. The first council member Carter saw was Chairman Kethmore. He was as big as an elephant, but looked like a giant insect. His black shell reflected the lights in the chamber. 4 arms ending in sharp claws rested on the arms of his chair. 2 large compound eyes stared at Carter without blinking. When Kefmore moved his head, Carter could hear the sound of grinding metal. To the right of the chairman sat a Zeltharian. These were the creatures that served as the Council's military force. The Zeltharian looked like a dinosaur that had learned to stand on 2 legs and wear armor. Its teeth were as long as Carter's fingers and looked sharp enough to cut through steel. Green scales covered its body, and its yellow eyes followed Carter's every movement. On the left side was a Vorthek, one of the beings that controlled trade throughout the galaxy. It looked like a living crystal formation, similar to Zefka, but much larger and more complex. Colors flowed through its body like water, changing from red to blue to purple. Carter had read that Vortheks could live for thousands of years and remembered everything they had ever seen or heard. The other 9 council members were equally impressive and frightening. There was a being made of what looked like liquid metal. Another that seemed to be made of pure energy contained in a force field. One looked like a tree with eyes, while another resembled a giant spider made of glass. Chairman Kefmore's voice filled the chamber. It sounded like rocks grinding together. "Human Carter," he said. "You come before the Galactic Council to request membership for your species. The Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. We have brought peace and order to countless worlds. Why should we allow your violent species to join our civilization?" Carter stepped forward onto the platform. His heart was pounding, but his voice was steady. "Honorable Council members," he began. "I come not to beg for membership, but to offer partnership. Humanity has much to contribute to galactic civilization." Carter opened his bag and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button, and images appeared in the air above the platform. The images showed Earth's cities, its forests and oceans, its people working together on great projects. "These are our cities," Carter said. "For the past 50 years, Earth has known peace. We have cleaned our oceans and replanted our forests. We have ended hunger and disease. We have reached for the stars, not to conquer, but to learn and to share." The images changed to show human art, music, and literature. They showed scientists working together, regardless of race or nationality. They showed children from different countries playing together. "We offer our knowledge of medicine, engineering, and science," Carter continued. "We offer our creativity in arts and culture. We offer our determination to solve problems and our willingness to work hard for the good of all." The Zeltharian council member made a sound like a growl. "Your species has a history of war," it said in a voice like breaking glass. "You have nearly destroyed your own world multiple times. Why should we trust you?" Carter looked directly at the Zeltharian. "Because we learned from our mistakes," he said. "Every species goes through difficult times as they grow. Humans have grown beyond our violent past. We are ready to be responsible members of the galactic community." The council members looked at each other and began speaking in their alien languages. Carter could not understand what they were saying, but he could tell from their body language that they were not impressed. Some of them seemed angry while others appeared bored. After several minutes of discussion, Chairman Kefmore raised one of his clawed hands for silence. "The council will consider your request," he said. "You will wait in the designated quarters while we deliberate." Carter bowed respectfully. "Thank you for your time and consideration," he said. "I hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between humanity and the galactic community." As Zefka led Carter out of the chamber, the ambassador felt both hope and worry. He had presented humanity's case as well as he could, but the council's reaction had not been encouraging. Still, he reminded himself that this was just the beginning. Tomorrow he would have another chance to convince them that humans deserved their place among the stars. Daniel Carter spent 3 days in the quarters assigned to him while the Galactic Council discussed humanity's future. The room was comfortable but strange. The bed floated in the air without any support. The walls could change color when he touched them. Food appeared from machines that he did not understand. Everything reminded him that he was far from home in a place built by minds very different from human ones. During those 3 days, Carter tried to stay busy. He reviewed his notes and prepared additional arguments for humanity's case. He practiced his speech in front of the mirror. He even learned a few words in the alien languages he had heard in the council chamber. But mostly he worried. On the morning of the 4th day, Guide Zefka came to his door. The crystal being's light was dimmer than usual, and Carter noticed that the colors flowing through its body were darker shades of blue and purple. "Ambassador Carter," Zefka said in its wind chime voice, "the council has reached their decision. You must come with me now." Carter put on his best suit and checked his appearance one last time. His reflection looked tired but determined. He had done everything he could for humanity. Now he would learn if it was enough. The walk to the council chamber felt longer this time. The alien creatures in the corridors seemed to avoid looking at Carter. Some turned away when he passed. Others whispered to each other in their strange languages. Carter began to feel that something was very wrong. When they reached the council chamber, Carter noticed that more aliens were present than before. Viewing galleries around the chamber were filled with representatives from dozens of different species. Some looked excited while others seemed nervous. A few were making recordings with devices Carter did not recognize. Chairman Kefmore stood as Carter entered the chamber. The giant insect-like being seemed even more intimidating than before. His compound eyes reflected the lights in the room like black mirrors. His 4-clawed hands gripped the arms of his chair so tightly that Carter could hear the metal groaning. "Human Carter," Chairman Kefmore said in his grinding voice, "the Galactic Council has spent much time discussing your request and studying the information you provided about your species." Carter walked to the platform in the center of the chamber. He tried to read the expressions on the alien faces around him, but their features were too different from human ones. The Zeltharian's yellow eyes seemed to glow with hunger. The Vorthix crystalline body pulsed with red light. The other council members sat perfectly still like statues. "We have reviewed your history," the chairman continued. "We have examined your technology, your culture, and your biology. We have considered your potential contributions to galactic civilization." Carter felt his heart beating faster. This was the moment that would decide humanity's future among the stars. "However," Chairman Kefmore said, and Carter's heart sank at that single word, "the Council has determined that humanity is incompatible with galactic civilization." Words hit Carter like a punch to his stomach. He had expected that rejection was possible, but hearing it spoken aloud made it real in a way that hurt more than he had imagined. "Your species has demonstrated a pattern of violence and destruction that we cannot ignore," the Zeltharian council member added. "Your wars, your environmental damage, your tendency toward chaos and unpredictability make you unsuitable for membership in our orderly society." Carter found his voice. "Honorable council members, I must respectfully disagree with your assessment. Humanity has grown beyond its violent past. We have proven our ability to live in peace and work together for the common good." The Vorthix crystalline body flashed with angry orange light. "Your growth is too recent and too fragile," it said in a voice like breaking glass. "We have observed species like yours before. They appear to change, but their true nature always returns. We cannot risk the stability of galactic civilization for the sake of one primitive species." "But we are not primitive," Carter protested. "We have achieved faster than light travel. We have ended war on our world. We have technologies and ideas that could benefit all species in the galaxy." Chairman Kefmore raised one clawed hand for silence. The decision has been made, he said. Furthermore, the council finds you guilty of the crime of species advocacy. Carter did not understand. Species advocacy? What does that mean? You have come here not as a humble petitioner seeking our mercy, but as an advocate demanding rights for your people, the chairman explained. You have presented your species as equals to the ancient civilizations of this council. This arrogance cannot be tolerated. The alien being made of liquid metal spoke for the first time. Its voice sounded like water flowing over rocks. Lesser species must know their place in the galactic order. When they forget their position and make demands of their betters, they must be reminded of the consequences. Carter felt cold fear spreading through his body. What are you saying? The sentence for species advocacy is death, Chairman Kethmore announced. You will be executed as an example to any other emerging civilizations that might consider challenging the established order. The chamber erupted in noise. Some of the aliens in the viewing galleries seemed shocked while others appeared pleased. Carter heard what sounded like cheering from the Zeltharian section and angry buzzing from creatures that looked like giant bees. This is murder, Carter said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. I came here in peace, following all your protocols, seeking only friendship and cooperation. You cannot execute me for representing my people. We can and we will, the chairman replied. The execution will be broadcast throughout the galaxy, so all species will understand the price of defying the Galactic Council. Carter straightened his shoulders and looked directly at Chairman Kethmore. Then I have one final request. Allow me to send a message to my people before you carry out this sentence. The council members spoke among themselves in their alien languages. After several minutes, Chairman Kethmore nodded. You may send your message. It will be your last act as a representative of humanity. Guards that looked like walking trees surrounded Carter and led him to a communication chamber. The room was filled with equipment that hummed and glowed with different colors. A device that looked like a metal flower was positioned in front of a chair. You have 5 minutes, one of the tree guards said in a voice like rustling leaves. Carter sat in the chair and looked into what he assumed was a camera. He knew that this message would travel faster than light back to Earth, where his government would receive it within hours. He also knew that these might be the last words any human would ever speak to the Galactic Council. My fellow humans, Carter began, his voice steady despite his fear. I am speaking to you from the Galactic Council, station where I have spent the last 4 days trying to secure our place among the civilizations of the galaxy. I must tell you that I have failed in this mission. Carter paused, choosing his words carefully. The Council has rejected our application for membership. They consider us too violent and unpredictable to join their society. They have sentenced immediate death for the crime of advocating for our species. He leaned forward, looking directly into the camera. I want you to know that I am not afraid. I am proud to have represented humanity in this place. I am proud of what our species has accomplished and what we can still achieve. Carter's voice grew stronger. The Council believes that humans are violent and chaotic. They think we will bow down and accept their judgment like frightened children. They are wrong. I have seen the beauty and wonder of the galaxy, but I have also seen the arrogance and cruelty of those who rule it. He stood up from the chair. Tell President Foster and the Global Security Council what has happened here. Tell them that humanity will not be silenced by threats or intimidated by executions. Tell them that we deserve our place among the stars. And if the galaxy will not make room for us, then we must make room for ourselves. The tree guard tapped Carter on the shoulder. Time is finished, it said. Carter looked into the camera one last time. I go to my death knowing that humanity will not forget this injustice. We are stronger than they know. We are more dangerous than they imagine, and we will not forgive this murder. The guards led Carter back to the council chamber, where a crowd of aliens had gathered to watch the execution. In the center of the chamber, a strange device had been set up. It looked like a metal arch with energy crackling between its sides. Chairman Kethmore stood before the device. "Let this be a lesson to all who would challenge the authority of the Galactic Council," he announced. "This is the fate of those who forget their place in the universal order." Carter walked to the device without being forced. He would not give these aliens the satisfaction of seeing him dragged to his death like a coward. He turned to face the crowd and spoke his final words. "I die as a representative of humanity," he said clearly. "My death will not end our story, it will begin it." The energy arch activated, and Daniel Carter, Earth's first ambassador to the galaxy, ceased to exist. The broadcast of his execution was transmitted to every civilized world, carrying with it the Council's message of dominance and fear. But the message also carried something else. It carried the image of a human being who faced death with courage and dignity. The quantum communication signal from Daniel Carter reached Earth at exactly 3:47 in the morning, Washington time. President Helen Foster was asleep in the White House when her emergency phone rang. The sound cut through the darkness like a knife, and she knew immediately that something terrible had happened. "Madam President," the voice of her chief of staff said through the phone, "you need to come to the Situation Room right now. We have received Ambassador Carter's final transmission." Foster threw on her clothes and ran down the hallway to the Situation Room. Her security team followed close behind. When she entered the room, she saw the faces of her advisors and knew that the news was as bad as she had feared. General Marcus Stone was standing at the head of the table. He was a tall man with gray hair and hard eyes. He had fought in 3 wars and had never lost a battle. His face was stone cold as he looked at the president. "Madam President," General Stone said, "Ambassador Carter is dead. The Galactic Council executed him for what they called species advocacy. They broadcast his death throughout the galaxy as a warning to other species." Foster felt like someone had hit her in the chest. She sat down heavily in her chair and tried to process what she had just heard. Carter had been her friend for 20 years. He had been the best diplomat Earth had ever produced. And now he was dead because he had tried to make peace with aliens. "Show me the message," she said quietly. The lights dimmed and a screen appeared on the wall. Carter's face filled the screen, and Foster could see the courage in his eyes even though he knew he was about to die. She listened to every word of his message, and by the time it ended, her sadness had turned to anger. "How long until we can contact the other world leaders?" Foster asked. "They are already being notified," her chief of staff replied. "Emergency. Video conferences are being set up with every major nation. They should be ready in 1 hour." Foster stood up and walked to the window. Outside, Washington was still sleeping peacefully. In a few hours, the people of Earth would wake up to learn that they were not alone in the universe, and that the universe was hostile to their existence. "General Stone," she said without turning around, "what are our military options?" Stone stepped forward. "Limited, Madam President. We have 12 ships capable of faster-than-light travel. All of them are exploration and research vessels like the UES Horizon. We have no military presence in space beyond our orbital defense platforms. How long would it take to build a space fleet?" Stone was quiet for a moment. "With our current resources and technology, at least 10 years for a fleet capable of defending Earth, 50 years for a fleet capable of attacking targets throughout the galaxy." Foster turned to face the room. "We do not have 50 years. If this Galactic Council can execute our ambassador for speaking peacefully to them, what will they do next? Will they decide that humanity is too dangerous to exist at all?" Dr. Lisa Park, Earth's leading expert on alien technology, spoke up from her seat at the table. "Madam President, I have been studying the technical data that Ambassador Carter transmitted before his mission began. The Galactic Council controls hundreds of star systems, but their military might be weaker than we think. Foster looked at Dr. Park with interest. Explain. Dr. Park stood up and activated a holographic display that showed a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked the locations of Galactic Council territories. The Council has been in power for 10,000 years, she sighed. During that time, they have not faced any serious challenges to their authority. Their military exists mainly to intimidate primitive species into submission. She pointed to the red dots on the map. Their forces are spread thin across thousands of worlds. They rely on fear and superior technology to maintain control, but they have not fought a real war in centuries. Most of the species they control are peaceful races that were conquered long ago. General Stone leaned forward. Are you saying they are vulnerable? I am saying they are not as strong as they want us to believe, Dr. Park replied. Their weapons are advanced, but their tactics are old. They expect other species to surrender when faced with superior force. They have never encountered a species that refuses to give up. Foster felt a spark of hope. What would we need to build a fighting force capable of challenging them? Dr. Park smiled grimly. We would need to convert our entire civilization into a war machine. Every factory, every laboratory, every resource would have to be dedicated to building ships and weapons. It would be the greatest mobilization in human history. How long? Foster asked. If we start immediately and work without stopping, we could have a small but effective fleet ready in 18 months, Dr. Park said. But it would require the cooperation of every nation on Earth. Foster looked around the room, her advisors. Gentlemen and ladies, in 1 hour I will be speaking to the leaders of every major nation on Earth. I will ask them to join U.S. in preparing for war against an alien empire that spans the galaxy. I need to know that you all support this decision. General Stone was the first to speak. Madam President, they murdered our ambassador. That is an act of war. We have no choice but to respond. The Secretary of Defense nodded. The American people will not accept the execution of our representative without consequences. We must show strength. One by one, every person in the room voiced their support. Foster felt the weight of what they were about to do, but she also felt the righteousness of their cause. Humanity had tried to join the galactic community in peace, and they had been answered with violence. The video conference with world leaders took place at dawn. Foster saw the faces of presidents, prime ministers, and kings from every continent. She told them about Carter's death and played his final message. She watched their expressions change from shock to anger to determination. President of Russia was the first to speak after the message ended. This council has declared war on all humanity, not just America. Russia will contribute everything we have to the defense of our species. The Prime Minister of China nodded. China agrees. Our space program and manufacturing capabilities are at your disposal. The Prime Minister of Britain spoke next. The United Kingdom stands with our allies. We will mobilize immediately. One by one, every leader pledged their support. The European Union, Japan, India, Brazil, Canada, Australia, and dozens of smaller nations all committed to the war effort. For the first time in human history, the entire world was united against a common enemy. Within hours of the conference, the transformation began. Automobile factories stopped making cars and started producing spaceship parts. Electronics companies began developing new weapon systems. Universities canceled classes and put their students to work on military research projects. The construction of the first military space yard began in orbit above Earth. Hundreds of cargo ships carried materials and workers into space. The space station grew larger every day as more sections were added. Dr. Park led a team of scientists in developing new technologies based on the alien devices that Carter had observed. They worked 18 hours a day, sleeping in their laboratories and eating at their workstations. Within weeks, they had developed prototypes of weapons that could damage alien ships. General Stone took command of the recruitment and training of Earth's first space military force. Pilots from every air force on Earth volunteered for the new Space Defense Corps. Marine units trained for boarding alien ships. Engineers learned to repair human technology in the vacuum of space. Admiral Jake Cooper, who had commanded Earth's exploration fleet, was promoted to lead the new Earth Defense Fleet. He was a quiet man who preferred studying star charts to making speeches, but he understood space combat better than anyone alive. The most difficult challenge was keeping the mobilization secret from alien observers. Earth's leaders knew that the Galactic Council might have spies watching their world. All military construction was hidden behind fake civilian projects. Weapons research was disguised as commercial technology development. Captain Susan Wright, who had commanded the HFY Horizon during Carter's mission, became one of the first graduates of the new Space Combat School. She had seen the aliens up close and understood their weaknesses better than most humans. As the months passed, Earth's industrial capacity grew beyond anything that had ever existed before. Factories were built on the Moon and Mars to produce materials that could not be made on Earth. Asteroid mining operations provided raw materials for the growing fleet. The people of Earth made sacrifices that their ancestors could never have imagined. Luxury goods disappeared from stores as all resources went to the war effort. Families sent their sons and daughters to train for battles in the cold vacuum of space. Scientists gave up promising careers to work on military projects, but humanity's greatest weapon was not technology or numbers. It was the memory of Daniel Carter's courage and the promise he had made in his final words. Every person working on the war effort knew that they were not just building ships and weapons. They were preparing to avenge the murder of an innocent man who had sought only peace. Dr. Park often worked late into the night in her laboratory. She would look up at the stars through her window and think about Carter facing his death with dignity. She remembered his words about humanity being stronger and more dangerous than the aliens knew. The first Galactic Council outpost that humanity attacked was called Station Beta 7. It floated in empty space near a dead star system, monitoring ships that passed through the area. The station had been there for 300 years without ever being threatened by enemy forces. Admiral Jake Cooper stood on the bridge of the UES Vengeance as his fleet dropped out of hyperspace near the station. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the alien structure spinning slowly against the backdrop of stars. It looked like a metal wheel with long spikes sticking out from its center. "All ships report ready for combat," Captain Susan Wright announced from her position at the communication station. She had transferred from exploration ships to join Cooper's crew. "The enemy station appears to be unaware of our presence." Cooper nodded. The element of surprise was crucial to their plan. Earth scientists had developed new stealth technology that made human ships harder for alien sensors to detect. This would be the first test of their innovations in real combat. "Launch the probe drones," Cooper ordered. Dozens of small unmanned ships launched from the human fleet. These drones were packed with sensors and weapons, designed to gather information about alien defenses and test their response times. The drones approached Station Beta 7 from different directions, looking like small asteroids drifting through space. On the station, Zotharian warriors noticed the approaching objects on their sensors. Commander Vextor, a massive reptilian creature with scarred scales, studied the readings with his yellow eyes. Something about these objects seemed wrong, but he could not identify the threat. "Increase sensor sweeps," Vextor ordered his crew. "These objects are moving too precisely to be natural debris." Before the Zeltharians could react further, the human drones opened fire. Beams of concentrated energy struck the station's outer defenses, testing their strength and recording their responses. The aliens scrambled to battle stations as alarms echoed through their corridors. "Unknown attackers detected," the station's computer announced in the grinding Zeltharian language. All warriors to combat positions. Cooper watched the results of the probe attack on his tactical display. Dr. Lisa Park had been right about alien weaknesses. The station's defensive systems were powerful but slow to respond. The aliens had not fought a real battle in so long that their reactions were confused and uncoordinated. Target their communication arrays, Cooper ordered. We need to prevent them from calling for help. The UES Vengeance and 3 other ships moved closer to the station. Their main weapons fired precisely aimed shots that destroyed the alien. Communication dishes. Station Beta 7 was now cut off from the rest of the Galactic Council's forces. Commander Vextor realized that his station was under attack by an unknown enemy. He tried to send a distress signal but found that all communication systems were destroyed. For the first time in his 300-year military career, he felt genuine fear. Launch all fighters, he commanded. Defend the station at all costs. Zeltharian fighter craft poured out of the station's landing bays. They looked like metal dragons with glowing engines and sharp claws for weapons. There were 50 of them. More than enough to destroy any small raiding force that had attacked Council territories in the past. But this was not like any attack the aliens had faced before. Human fighter pilots led by Captain Tony Martinez engaged the Zeltharian ships. In the space around the station, the human pilots used tactics that the aliens had never seen, working together in small groups and changing their attack patterns constantly. Captain Martinez had studied recordings of alien fighter tactics that Carter had transmitted before his death. He knew that Zeltharian pilots preferred direct attacks and one-on-one combat. Human pilots used this knowledge against them, luring alien fighters into traps and surrounding them with superior numbers. Blue Squadron, form up on my wing. Martinez called over the radio. Red Squadron, attack from below. Gold Squadron, stay back and provide cover fire. The human fighters moved like a school of fish, flowing around the alien ships and striking from unexpected angles. Their weapons were not as powerful as Zeltharian technology, but they were faster and more maneuverable. Within minutes, half of the alien fighters were destroyed or disabled. Commander Vextor watched his fighters being destroyed and felt rage building in his chest. These unknown enemies fought like cowards, using tricks and teamwork instead of honorable single combat. But their cowardice was effective, and his forces were losing badly. Activate the station's main weapons, he ordered. Destroy these vermin before they can escape. Station Beta 7's massive energy cannons turned toward the human fleet. These weapons could destroy a battleship with a single shot, but they were designed to fight large targets that moved predictably. The human ships were smaller and faster than anything the aliens had encountered. Admiral Cooper saw the alien weapons turning toward his fleet. All ships, evasive maneuvers, he commanded. Pattern Delta 7. The human ships scattered in different directions, just as the alien cannons fired. Beams of deadly energy passed through empty space where the fleet had been moments before. The aliens tried to track the moving targets, but their weapon systems were too slow. Return fire, Cooper ordered. Target their weapon emplacements. Human ships attacked the station from all sides simultaneously. Their coordinated assault overwhelmed the alien defenses, destroying weapons and damaging critical systems. The station's shields began to fail as multiple hits weakened their power generators. General Marcus Stone watched the battle from Earth's command center. Real-time communications allowed him to observe humanity's first space battle as it happened. He felt pride as he saw human tactics proving superior to alien technology. Dr. Park was right, he said to President Foster, who stood beside him. They have superior weapons, but they do not know how to use them effectively against an enemy that refuses to fight by their rules. On Station Beta 7, Commander Vextor realized that his forces were losing the battle. The unknown attackers were too fast, too coordinated, and too unpredictable. His warriors were brave, but they had no experience fighting an enemy like this. "Send a message pod to the nearest council world," he ordered. "Tell them we are under attack by a new species. Tell them these enemies are dangerous." A small escape pod launched from the station carrying the message. But Captain Wright had been watching for this possibility. A human interceptor ship destroyed the pod before it could escape to hyperspace. "No word of this battle leaves the system," Cooper said grimly. "We need time to establish our foothold before the Council realizes the scope of our threat." The battle continued for 2 more hours. Human boarding parties, led by Marines trained for zero-gravity combat, fought their way into the station. The Zeltharian warriors were powerful in hand-to-hand combat, but the humans used their superior teamwork and flexible tactics to overcome alien strength. Lieutenant Kelly Foster, the president's daughter who had joined the Marines against her mother's wishes, led the assault on the station's command center. She and her squad moved through the alien corridors using techniques developed from studying Council architecture. "Breach charges ready," she called to her team. "Remember, we need their computers intact for intelligence gathering." The Marines blasted through the command center doors and engaged the remaining Zeltharian defenders. Commander Vextor fought with the desperate fury of a cornered predator, but he was overwhelmed by superior numbers and tactics. When the battle ended, Station Beta 7 was under human control. Admiral Cooper walked through the captured alien facility, studying their technology and gathering intelligence about Council defenses. The victory had been complete, but he knew it was only the beginning. "Signal the fleet," he ordered. "We move to the next target in 6 hours. The galaxy needs to learn that humanity is not as helpless as the Council believes." Word of the victory spread quickly through the human fleet and back to Earth, but Cooper and his commanders were careful to maintain operational security. They used captured alien communication systems to send false reports, making it appear that Station Beta 7 was still under Council control. Dr. Park analyzed the alien technology recovered from the station. She discovered that Council weapons were indeed powerful, but they were also old and inflexible. Human engineers could adapt and improve their designs quickly, while the aliens seemed locked into using the same systems for centuries. "Their greatest strength is also their weakness," she reported to General Stone. "They have dominated the galaxy for so long that they have stopped innovating. They expect their enemies to be primitive species with simple weapons." The second human attack targeted a Galactic Council supply depot in the Kepler system. This facility provided resources to dozens of Council outposts and military bases. Its destruction would create supply shortages throughout an entire sector of space. Captain Wright commanded the assault force for this mission. She had proven herself in the first battle and earned Cooper's trust. Her ships approached the depot using a different route, disguised as a Council patrol returning from routine duties. The deception worked perfectly. The depot's defenders allowed the human ships to approach within close range before realizing their mistake. By then it was too late to mount an effective defense. 8 months after the first human attack on Station Beta 7, Admiral Jake Cooper stood on the bridge of the UE's Vengeance and stared at Nexus Prime through the viewing screen. The massive alien station looked different now. Parts of it were dark, where human weapons had damaged power systems. Debris from destroyed ships floated around it like a metal cloud. The final battle for the Galactic Council's home base had been raging for 3 days. Human ships attacked from all directions, while alien forces tried desperately to defend their most important stronghold. The space around Nexus Prime was filled with the wreckage of both human and alien vessels. "Admiral," Captain Susan Wright reported from her station, "General Stone's ground forces have breached the outer defense ring. They are advancing toward the Council chambers." Cooper nodded grimly. The assault on Nexus Prime was the largest military operation in human history. Every ship in Earth's fleet was involved, along with vessels from dozens of alien species that had joined humanity's rebellion against Council rule. The rebellion had grown far beyond what Cooper had originally planned. Species that had been enslaved by the Council for centuries saw humanity's success and found the courage to fight for their own freedom. The crystal beings called the Ultrans provided valuable intelligence about Council technology. The plant-like Verdani used their ships to transport human troops. Even some individual Zeltharians had switched sides, disgusted by their leader's corruption. Status report on the boarding parties. Cooper requested. Lieutenant Kelly Foster's voice came through the communication system from inside Nexus Prime. "We have secured levels 7 through 12, she reported. "Resistance is heavy, but we are making progress toward the Council chambers." Cooper felt proud of the young Marine officer. President Foster's daughter had proven herself to be one of humanity's best combat leaders. She had volunteered for the most dangerous missions and inspired her troops. Through personal courage and tactical brilliance, the battle inside Nexus Prime was unlike anything humans had ever experienced. The station's corridors were filled with different types of atmosphere to accommodate various alien species. Some areas had gravity 3 times stronger than Earth normal, while others had no gravity at all. Human Marines had to adapt quickly to fight in conditions that changed from room to room. General Marcus Stone coordinated the ground assault from his command ship. He watched tactical displays showing the progress of dozens of different units as they fought their way through the alien station. The casualties were heavy, but human forces continued to advance. "Team Alpha, report status," Stone commanded into his radio. "This is Sergeant Billy Johnson," came the reply. "We have reached the detention center. We found human prisoners here, sir. Crew members from exploration ships that disappeared over the past 2 years." Stone felt anger surge through him. The Council had been capturing and imprisoning humans long before Carter's diplomatic mission. They had planned to study humanity and determine if the species posed a threat to their rule. "Secure the prisoners and continue your advance," Stone ordered. "All units, be advised that we may find more human captives throughout the station." The space battle continued around Nexus Prime as human and allied ships fought against the remaining Council fleet. Captain Tony Martinez led his fighter squadrons against Eltharian defenders who fought with desperate fury. They knew that defeat here meant the end of their empire. "Gold leader to all fighters," Martinez called over the radio. "The enemy is concentrating their forces near the station's main docking bay. They are trying to prevent our reinforcements from landing." Martinez's fighter swooped between the massive arms of Nexus Prime, dodging alien weapons fire and launching missiles at enemy positions. His pilots had become experts at fighting in the complex environment around the station, using its structure for cover and concealment. Inside the Council chambers, Chairman Kefmore paced back and forth like a caged animal. The giant insect-like being could hear the sounds of battle getting closer as human forces advanced through his station. His compound eyes reflected the emergency lighting that flickered throughout the chamber. "How did this happen?" he demanded of his remaining advisors. "How did a primitive species destroy our empire?" The surviving Vorthak representative, its crystalline body dim with fear, tried to explain. "The humans do not fight like other species we have conquered. They adapt quickly and use tactics we do not understand. They also turned our own subjects against us. They are vermin," Kefmore snarled. "Dangerous vermin that should have been exterminated when we first learned of their existence." The chamber doors exploded inward as human Marines blasted through the final defensive barriers. Lieutenant Foster led the assault team into the room where Daniel Carter had been sentenced to death 8 months earlier. She looked around at the alien architecture and felt the weight of history on her shoulders. "Chairman Kefmore," she announced in a clear voice, "by the authority of the Human Defense Coalition and the Free Species Alliance, You are under arrest for the murder of Ambassador Daniel Carter and crimes against sentient beings throughout the galaxy. Kethmore drew himself up to his full height, towering over the human soldiers. I do not recognize your authority, primitive creature. The Galactic Council has ruled this galaxy for 10,000 years. Your council is finished, Foster replied. Your fleets are destroyed, your territories are in rebellion, and your station is under our control. You have lost. The remaining council members tried to resist, but they were quickly overwhelmed by superior numbers. The Zeltharian military commander attempted to fight with his claws and teeth, but human weapons stunned him into unconsciousness. The other aliens surrendered when they realized that further resistance was hopeless. Admiral Cooper arrived in the council chambers an hour later. He looked at the captured alien leaders who had once ruled most of the galaxy. They seemed smaller and less impressive now that their power was broken. Admiral, Lieutenant Foster reported, all council members are in custody. We have also secured their computer systems and intelligence files. Cooper nodded. Excellent work, Lieutenant. Signal all ships that Nexus Prime is under human control. President. Helen Foster's image appeared on the communication screen that had been set up in the chamber. She was speaking from the White House on Earth, but quantum communication allowed her to address the victory in real time. Admiral Cooper, congratulations on your success, the President said. The entire world is watching this moment. How do you want to proceed with the captured council members? Cooper looked at Chairman Kethmore and the other prisoners. They will receive fair trials for their crimes, Madam President. Unlike the Council's treatment of Ambassador Carter, we will follow proper legal procedures. The trials of the Galactic Council members took place over the following weeks. Human lawyers and judges worked with representatives from the liberated alien species to ensure that justice was served fairly. Evidence of the Council's crimes filled thousands of files, documenting centuries of oppression and murder. Chairman Kethmore was found guilty of ordering Carter's execution and countless other atrocities. When asked if he had any final words before sentencing, the alien leader showed no remorse. You may have defeated us, but you are still primitive creatures, he said. Your victory will not last. Other powers in the galaxy will rise to challenge you. The human judge, Justice Robert King, looked at Kethmore with cold eyes. The difference between you and us is that we do not claim the right to judge entire species. We fight only those who threaten innocent beings. Kethmore and the other council leaders were executed by the same method they had used to kill Carter. But unlike Carter's death, their executions were broadcast as a message of justice rather than intimidation. President Foster addressed the galaxy from the former council chambers, which had been renamed the Daniel Carter Memorial Hall. Representatives from hundreds of species watched as she outlined humanity's vision for the future of galactic civilization. The age of tyranny is over, she declared. No species will ever again claim the right to judge whether another species deserves to exist. We invite all civilized beings to join us in building a galaxy based on cooperation, not conquest. The response was overwhelming. Species that had been oppressed for millennia eagerly joined the new Galactic Confederation. Even some former council loyalists requested membership after seeing humanity's commitment to justice and equality. Dr. Lisa Park worked with alien scientists to establish new research institutions dedicated to peaceful exploration and technological development. The weapons that had been designed for war were converted to tools for building and exploration. General Stone oversaw the establishment of the Galactic Peace Force, a military organization designed to protect innocent species from aggression while respecting their independence. Former enemies worked together to maintain order without oppression. Admiral Cooper was promoted to lead the new galactic fleet, but he insisted that command positions be shared among different species. Human ships worked alongside Altran Crystal vessels, Verdani bioships, and even some reformed Zeltharian warships. The memorial to Daniel Carter was completed 1 year after the fall of the Galactic Council. It stood in the center of New Horizons Station,